The Indiana Fever are plotting to move Caitlin Clark to the Los Angeles Sparks. I expect it to happen before the end of the season or before the trade deadline or before sooner than later. I don't expect it to be this offseason. I think the wheels are in motion. We're looking at Luka Doncic 2.0. The Dallas Mavericks moved on from Luka Doncic, sent him to the Los Angeles Lakers, sabotaged their franchise. The difference is that the Dallas Mavericks had Cooper Flagg coming on the way. They were drafting him, but I think the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark marriage is coming to an end. I say that after watching last night's game. The thrill is clearly gone. They won. They beat the Atlanta Dream. But there was no joy in that. Not for the fans, not really for Caitlin Clark. And I know there's these moments. Look at, she fell into the arms of and chest bump with Stephanie White. It's over. They're trading Caitlin Clark to the Los Angeles Sparks. This decision to move Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles might have been made immediately after Caitlin Clark's rookie season. That this was always the plan, like Caitlin Clark is too big for the Indiana Pacers. Caitlin Clark is too big for a Mickey Mouse organization and an ownership group led by Herb Simon that's using the WNBA and the Indiana Fever as a charity. Once they figured that out after her rookie season, it's like, okay, how do we get Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles? How do we get her to a major city so that we can justify this new CBA that's coming, so that we can build this league? Caitlin Clark is done in Los Angeles and in Indiana, and that's why I think they hired Stephanie White. There was no reason, and we'd have to go back and check the tapes, but I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do know at the end of Caitlin Clark's rookie season, I was like, hey, man, I'm good with Christy Sides. The second half of her rookie season, no problem with Christy Sides. They're playing an exciting form of basketball. Caitlin Clark is dominating, and they fired her. And the Indiana Fever, knowing that the league had made a decision that, hey, Caitlin Clark is too big of a deal to leave to this Mickey Mouse organization that's treating her and the franchise as a charity. And so I think they said, okay, who could we hire? Who could we bring in that if we have to trade Caitlin Clark, if we have to remove Caitlin Clark from our franchise, who could we bring in as head coach that would help us survive the backlash? Oh, there's a girl that grew up right here in Indiana, led Purdue to a national championship. It's got a halfway decent reputation as a head coach. And so if we just build around Stephanie White, she's got local Indiana ties, connections, a great history with Purdue, former assistant coach, former player with the Indiana Fever. We can survive. Stephanie White, Lynn Dunn as our senior advisor, she can help sell this. She was the former head coach at Purdue. She was coached the Fever to their WNBA title in 2012. Let's bring Lynn Dunn back in as senior advisor. She can help sell this. She has the credibility. And so that's what they've been doing. They have put themselves in position to jettison, trade, remove Caitlin Clark from the Indiana Fever roster with the false hope, the false belief of, and we'll survive this with Stephanie White and Lynn Dunn and Kelly Krauskopf and Amber Cox and the army of lesbians we've surrounded Caitlin Clark with will survive this. They have enough credibility. And so I want to, Luke, you got to help me out. You suggest, I want to show you, there was a tweet the Indiana Fever put out last night of Caitlin Clark knocking down a three-pointer. Knocking down a three-pointer. It's an exciting play. It was one of the most exciting plays from last night. In this moment where things were going well for Caitlin Clark, they put it out, and I would say they put it out last night, and I would say like an hour ago, it had 140,000 views. A year ago, 2 years ago, that would have had 5 million views, and it would have been all over social media. The thrill is gone. There were empty seats last night. Angel Reese came to town with the Atlanta Dream on a heater. This was a big matchup. Angel Reese, the Atlanta Dream, Angel Reese's new team. They're playing well, outplaying the Fever. Not sold out. Empty seats in this arena. The thrill is gone. This is the highlight that the Indiana Fever tweeted out that, again, an hour ago had 140,000 views. The thrill is gone. They've killed Caitlin Clark in Indiana. They've set the stage. Why do you think Dan Dockich and all this smear campaign that's going on with Caitlin Clark, they've set the stage to trade her to the Los Angeles Sparks? Let me go into a bit more detail, and Charles and Maurice, be patient with me. I just want to set the stage for a conversation, and then we'll have about 30, 40 minutes to talk about it, and then I got to move on. JB will be here. There's some NBA final stuff we need to talk about with Skap and Dre. But let me just set the stage. Lynn Dunn, the 90-year-old former Purdue coach, former Indiana Fever coach, she's not 90, but she's an old woman. They rolled her out 2 days ago to appear on something called The Daily Coach, some small podcast. And she's out getting the messaging out on what they're about to do to Caitlin Clark. They got her on this podcast with 3 or 4 other people, and she's explaining about the tough decisions you have to make when moving on from a superstar. They're planning on trading Caitlin Clark. Let's start with, I want to make sure. Let's start with SOT 4. This is Lynn Dunn 2 days ago on the Daily Coach podcast.
In the corporate world, in the coaching world, in all the worlds, your culture is so important to the foundation of what you do. It's who you are. It's what you do. It's why you do everything. And it's constantly important that you are emphasizing it, that you're staying consistent, that you're communicating clearly what these values are, the expectations. Everybody is on the same page. Everybody feels valued. And I think that's one of the things leaders probably don't spend enough time with. What am I doing today to make sure everybody in my group, top to bottom, feel important, feel valued, feel like they're part of the team? Have I said thank you enough? Have I appreciated them enough? What am I doing to make everybody feel a part? I do want to say one thing, though. I thought of something when Carol was talking about letting her player go. I had to let a superstar go one time for academic reasons, and it was tough, and she couldn't stand me. I had to kick her off the team. She left the school.
Lynn Dunn, 2 days ago, on some podcast with 130 some odd subscribers, telling a story about having to let a superstar go and talking about culture and blah, blah, blah. We're being set up. They've made the decision. And Lynn Dunn may not be the bad guy in this deal, but I just want to let you know the decision has been made. The Indiana Fever are trading and moving on from Caitlin Clark, and they're getting the messaging out. I showed you yesterday, Lynn Dunn with her mouthpiece, Dan Dockich. We talked about that yesterday. Maurice and I on this show with her mouthpiece. Lynn Dunn out doing the work herself. Now I want to play you the host of that show. She says all this about kicking off a superstar and what she had to do in college and how the play, if we played the rest of the clip, how the superstar in college thanked her later for doing this. 20 years later, she returned to Lynn Dunn and said, I thank you. I would have never been the player. I would have never got my degree had you not kicked me off the team. Here's the host, Josh Chambers, following immediately in on what Lynn Dunn just said. Listen to Josh Chambers.
So many people watching this right now will benefit or will run into that problem where their superstar, their best player, does something or something occurs and they're faced with a hard question or decision. How do I treat this? And I think we've all been on teams at some point or will at some point where we start to almost have anxiety or fear that decision could have a negative impact for the team. And you start to weigh your moral responsibility to other players and then predict out future outcomes. And you almost can spiral from there. And so
they're talking clearly about Caitlin Clark without using her name. They're laying the groundwork, the argument, the foundation for, we just had to move on. Caitlin Clark was so toxic. It just doesn't work here. And we're all in on Stephanie White and this culture that we're building. And if I wasn't from Indianapolis, I'd have less of a problem with this. But I'm from Indianapolis, lifelong Indiana Pacer fan, became an Indiana Fever fan because of Caitlin Clark, and I loved having her in Indiana with me being an Indianapolis person. Loved it. But I may have to agree that Caitlin Clark in Los Angeles probably makes better sense for the entire league. And that maybe the league is doing what's in the best overall interest of everybody. Maybe the killing of Caitlin Clark is necessary. And maybe Caitlin Clark knows it and is in on it. But let me tell you why I think it's Los Angeles. Because one, that's where you've heard me talk. We just talked about it with Myles Garrett. We talked about in basketball. They send the biggest stars, the biggest attractions to Los Angeles. This is the NBA runs the WNBA. So we shouldn't be shocked here that hey, Wilt Chamberlain ended up in Los Angeles. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar ended up in Los Angeles. Shaquille O'Neal ended up in Los Angeles. LeBron James ended up in Los Angeles. This is what the NBA does. Should we be shocked they're doing it with the WNBA? And they've already, in my mind, identified the coach for Caitlin Clark in Los Angeles. And it's not whoever the hell, I don't know who's coaching the Los Angeles Sparks now. Let's look it up. Someone tell it to me in my ear or whatever. But the new coach of the Los Angeles Sparks, I believe, will be a woman named Corey Close. Lynn Roberts, is that what I just? Yeah, Lynn Roberts. Who the hell is he or she? But Corey Close just led UCLA to a national championship, is a bona fide coach, looks a little bit like Lisa Bluter, or cut from the same cloth as Lisa Bluter. Hell of a coach. Guess what podcast she was on yesterday? Talking about Caitlin Clark. Lynn Dunn's on some nondescript, low-profile podcast talking about kicking superstars off the team because of culture. And Corey Close just happens to be on some Women's Sports Today podcast talking about Caitlin Clark and what's going on with the Indiana Fever organization. Let's listen to Corey Close.
I look at this from the lens of my experience covering the NBA, and it just reminds me of the first couple years that Kobe Bryant was in there and he was battling with Phil Jackson and with Shaq. He didn't seem to want to have a vet take him under his wing. Shaq really wanted to be that vet. He pushed back on it. And for several years, Kobe was deemed uncoachable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, when you look at Kobe and what do we people say, the Mamba mentality, that
was not there the first couple years.
That came with maturity. That came with experience. That came with, okay, I'm going to fail, but now I'm going to learn to fail forward. And so, I think we have to understand that, she's got an unbelievable superpower. I mean, I coached Caitlin Clark for 2 summers in USA Basketball. She's got, her confidence is incredible, and her ability to take something on her back, to seize a moment, is unlike many things we've ever seen. But she's just starting, and I think with maturity, we'll be seeing that as more of a strength. Right now, when you use a strength too much, it becomes a weakness.
And what I was just going to say is that I think she also has to expand her game. It's like Fee came back every year learning with a new skill. Asia comes back every year with a new skill.
This is not, you look at the Aces and, obviously, arguably the best franchise. And, Chelsea Gray, defense is not her thing. But they cover for that. They have a system that allows her to be the point god. You look at the way that Olivia Myles, she is the second one that you referred to who's getting ISO'd. And, but the scheme and the maturity of the team around her is covering for that. That's where also Indiana needs to get better, is coming alongside that and covering for each other to make the whole better.
Women's Sports Now. I think that's an ESPN-backed podcast. And I want you to notice the tone, tenor, and the substance of the conversation. And I'm sorry for having to point this out, but I'm forced to. No, with the Daily Coach podcast that Lynn Dunn was on, group of white folks having a serious conversation about sports. Women's Sports Now, they got a group of white folks having a serious conversation about Caitlin Clark, and the whole thing sounds completely different. There's actually more substance. Instead of I watched Amazon Prime last night, and they got this tatted up, neck-tatted woman talking very ignorantly about Caitlin Clark and gossipy and all that other stuff. And I'm just... So what I'm saying is serious conversations are being had among white folks, and they're telegraphing what it is they're doing. They're about to do business. Caitlin Clark doesn't work in Indiana. It's a Mickey Mouse organization run by Herb Simon. They don't want to spend money. They don't have real leadership. They got a group of angry lesbians running the franchise. Can't really get it off the ground. And what the NBA does is send its biggest stars to Los Angeles, not Indiana. And so they're doing a crash landing of Caitlin Clark and trying to justify why the Indiana Fever must give up on Caitlin Clark, move on from Caitlin Clark. They're shipping her to the Los Angeles Sparks. That's my big takeaway from a very disappointing game last night. That was bad product by the WNBA. You heard me yesterday how much I was looking forward to this game, and it was absolute trash. Neither team could make a bucket. Both teams looked sloppy to me. The Atlanta Dream looked like they were mailing it in. Kelsey Mitchell had a great run and was great for a stretch, but that was bad product. That was like a reason that was like, man, I see why people don't want to watch the WNBA. This is bad. No emotion, no energy in the organization, in the arena. They killed Caitlin Clark in Indiana. They've done it intentionally. They've now justified moving on from her. Maurice, Charles, welcome into the conversation. Maurice, I want to go to you first. What do you think of my assertion that it's over for Caitlin Clark in Indiana and they're going to move her at some point this season, and I think they're moving her to Los Angeles?
Well, Jason, I would 100% welcome Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles. Listen, the Indiana Fever is being run like a local corner store. Okay, it looked like it's being run by the nieces and nephews that are just getting a few dollars to help out Unc with the business, and it's unprofessional, and it doesn't seem fit for a star like Caitlin Clark, although we felt like it would be a good fit, especially with her Midwest roots and her core fan base being there. But they've mishandled it to the point where it doesn't matter. Her fans aren't even showing up to games anymore. You see the agendas that they're putting out with the games. Her fans aren't into all of that. They are into basketball and being entertained in that way. And I think you laid it out beautifully, man. The Indiana Fever have done everything they can to show that they want to build this team around Stephanie White and Kelsey Mitchell. That's why you go and draft a Raven Johnson in the first round. And this team was built to survive and be better without Caitlin. Meanwhile, Jason and I have been saying the job here is to win with Caitlin Clark. They clearly have set it up for otherwise. I would welcome this change to Los Angeles because I think LA is built for stars. And you know what's interesting, Jason? I said before Caitlin Clark was drafted, and this is while the WNBA is still in the depths of hell with no one watching, I said, you know what? If I was in control of the WNBA, there wouldn't be no draft order. I'm placing the stars strategically where it's going to benefit the league. Okay, I would have put Caitlin Clark in New York City somewhere. Juju Watkins, I would have forced her to be in LA. I would have put Angel Reese in Atlanta. All the Black Hollywood down there would rally around her. I would place the stars strategically because at the end of the day, you got to build this league up. That game last night was atrocious to watch. And if that is the product we're going to be getting, I don't know, Jason. I don't know. I might have to start covering MMA fighting. I don't know. I have to figure something out. I'm going to have to figure something out.
Charles, pick up wherever you want, but I want you to somewhat address, because I didn't fully finish my point on Corey Close. But she's 54 years old, and after winning that national championship, she talked at the Final Four about, like, hey, man, with this NIL and all, I'm not having any fun. This is wearing me out. And a lot of college coaches feel like the chaos in college sports is too much. And that's why I think this Corey Close could end up the LA Sparks head coach, is because she's at an age, she proved her point, she won a national championship. Why not move on to the WNBA? Charles, your thoughts on my theory and that?
Well, first of all, yesterday when we had the conversation about Caitlin Clark.
Hold on, we're picking up an echo with Charles. Is there any way to fix that, Luke? Go ahead and talk again.
Is it better now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Well, first of all, when we spoke yesterday, you had me at an unfair advantage. I wasn't aware of the podcast you was listening to with 130 people on it when they was setting the stage. but I will say this, if it's unfathomable that the Dallas Mavericks would trade Luka Doncic to LA, and you talk about Shaq and all these other people going to LA, let me give you one better. And that argument you made about them trading Caitlin Clark, be honest with you, I laughed at that when I got off the phone. When you started speaking this morning, I thought, he's on to something when you said LA, and here's why. As big as Caitlin Clark is, it doesn't compare to how big Wayne Gretzky was in Canada. And the Edmonton Oilers shipped him to LA because it was better for NHL. So if hockey can take Canada's biggest asset, it would have been like trading Michael Jordan to Canada if the roles was reversed. So if hockey can send Wayne Gretzky to LA to play for the Kings, of all people, I can see it now. You don't sound like the crazy man who's seeing UFOs all of a sudden. It makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it makes a lot of sense. If they wanted her out in LA, it would make sense.
It makes perfect sense. They would almost be irresponsible at this point, looking at the clown show with the Indiana Fever, their unwillingness to build around her, they would be silly not to do it. It makes perfect business sense. It's funny. Kate Martin just happens to be on the Sparks roster. Oh, that's amazing.
As well as Cameron Brink.
Thank you. That's where I was going next. They could put together that Larry Bird Boston Celtics type team with the Los Angeles Sparks. Cameron Brink and Caitlin Clark together in Los Angeles. And then I would figure out, I'd make Sophie Cunningham or Lexi Holt part of the package that gets shipped to LA, and I'd put the white team out in Los Angeles.
Well, you're gonna have to give me more than Kate Moore than Cameron Brink for this to work, man.
I think you're sleeping on Cameron Brink alongside Caitlin Clark. I think she would be amazing alongside Caitlin Clark.
Okay, so you're gonna if that trade is made, then there's no way Indiana's not gonna get Kelsey Plum back in return.
Well, hold on.
So,
They get Kelsey Plum, but I'm not sure if that works. Kelsey Plum and Kelsey Mitchell together, that's too ball-centric. But I did think about it, they got to move Kelsey Plum someplace else because I don't think she would work with Caitlin Clark.
I don't know this to be a fact, but I think part of the reason Kelsey Plum left Las Vegas is because she wanted to be the main attraction.
Yeah.
So, I don't think she's ready to share the stage in Indiana of all places. I mean, Kelsey Plum is thinking like you. She wanted to be on the big stage. That's why she went to LA.
Yeah, but sorry, Kelsey Plum, you're a great player. This is Caitlin Clark we're talking about, and if you got to go, then you got to go. I think this
Maurice,
would be a
hold for
beautiful
one
move.
second. Could Kelsey Plum be smart enough to? I'll figure out a way to play alongside Caitlin Clark. Maybe she would.
What? But now she played alongside Chelsea Gray, and she was the two guard in Las Vegas. But now, she could make that work. But now there's no way the Los Angeles Sparks, the Indiana Fever is going to trade her and not ask for Kelsey Plum in return. That's just not happening.
In return, the LA Sparks have some pieces. You also got to understand Kelsey Plum. This is a 1 year. I think she only signed a 1 year deal. Kelsey Mitchell's on a 1 year deal. So they would have to move some pieces around. But the LA Sparks, they have Nneka Ogwumike, they have De'Erica Hamby, they have pieces. Ariel Atkins, who's on a 1 year max, to where you can make things make sense. And I'll alongside with some picks, obviously, where it could make somewhat sense for both sides. But I think ultimately, as Whitlock has painted the picture, more importantly than what you're getting back, I think for the Indiana Fever, it would be getting rid of the responsibility, because this is what we have to understand as well. Caitlin Clark didn't shoot the ball well last night, but she did have 8 assists, 7 rebounds, solid overall floor game, but not exciting. And I don't think the Indiana Fever are built to deal with the responsibility of not only does she need to play well, not only do we need to win, she has to be entertaining. There's a responsibility that comes with Caitlin Clark to not just be a good basketball player. You must entertain. And I don't think the Indiana Fever want to deal with that. So even if they get less than what the market value says they should, I think getting rid of that responsibility would mean more to them.
I don't
go ahead, Charles.
I think it's obvious they haven't figured out a way for Caitlin Clark to be entertaining, to lead the league in scoring, to fill up the stands and win games. They haven't figured that out. And I'll tell you something, Maurice. Maybe I've listened to you and Jason a little bit too much in the past week, but the truth of the matter is, I don't think they have any interest in figuring that out. Do they want to win? Yeah, sure, they want to win. I don't think for 1 second that the Indiana Fever don't want to win. But are they sitting in the office saying, hey, let's figure out how to win what Caitlin Clark is the star like she was for the Iowa Hawkeyes and everybody else just filling in? I think they have no interest in that.
Listen, gentlemen, what I'm really arguing is I'm actually giving them some grace. That, like, No, this is a league decision. This decision was made after year one. Hey, we got to get Caitlin Clark out of Indiana after her rookie season. We have to get her out of Indiana. I think the decision was made then because they figured out a way to win with Caitlin Clark. The coach was Christy Sides, and it was the second half of her rookie season. They made progress. What they were doing was right. There was no reason to fire Christy Sides. This plan was organized after her rookie year. That's why I'm saying, like, they brought Stephanie White in as like, okay, when we have to move on from Caitlin, who can help us sell that this makes sense and the Indiana Fever organization isn't destroyed in the aftermath? Well, we'll get a hometown hero in Stephanie White. She grew up here in Indiana. She played and won a championship at Purdue. We'll bring back Lynn Dunn as a senior advisor. She will help us sell this catastrophe of moving on from Caitlin Clark. I actually have sympathy for Stephanie White, Lynn Dunn. They've been given an assignment. How do we get Caitlin Clark out of Indiana without destroying the Fever franchise? How do we get her to Los Angeles where she matters? How do we do this? We're going to be the bad guys. And so the insanity and the stupidity all make sense now. Like, why are you not running pick and roll with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston? This is as retarded a decision. You're undermining Aaliyah Boston because Aaliyah Boston is best in pick and roll with Caitlin Clark. They're not doing it. They had to throw tantrums. Last night, they finally switched up their defense. Started trapping, started fighting through picks and screens. And Caitlin Clark was perfectly fine. If the refs had left her alone and not caught all those bogus fouls, Caitlin Clark would have had a masterful defensive game. And so they've been doing retarded things intentionally. I want you to open your mind potentially to giving these people grace. They've been given a horrible job. Hey, the Fever have to move Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles because that's what's best for the league. And so they're just doing the assignment they've been given, transitioning Caitlin Clark to Los Angeles.
And I agree, Jason, and that's why I have moved away from my stance. I was really dug in on, man, Stephanie White is really, really bad at her job. None of this makes sense and all of that. But I've started to move away from that, and I said, there's no way, because Stephanie White's one power as a coach is she knows how to take a team that's not supposed to win much and make them look like something. She's not going to win you championships, but a team that no one thinks is going to be anything, she'll make them look decent. And that's what she does. Well, so to do that, you have to be able to coach to some degree, right? And it just didn't make sense. A lot of the decisions she was making, a lot of the things she was doing. And I've gone away from her just not being smart. I think this is a sham. This is a work. I think she's a plant. They placed her there for a reason to sabotage this thing from within, not just her. The entire front office, they all popped up. They came from the ceiling like Sting and WCW, and voila, they're here. And all these things have gone wrong. But I don't think she's as bad of a coach as we're saying. I think this is intentional. Charles, Stephanie White said something before the game yesterday. You let me know how you feel about it, because Whitlock brought up the defense, which I don't know why it took you a full training camp, all preseason, plus 8 regular season games to see that you should not be switching 1 through 5. You should never switch a 5'8" guard onto a 6'6" center freely throughout the game unless it's forced. It made no sense. She said before the game, Charles, a reporter asked her about the 1 through 5 switching and if any changes would be made and why they were doing it. And do the players just not know what they're doing? And she said, well, it's not that the players don't know what they're doing. As coaches, I guess, we haven't told them. As coaches, we haven't told them. We're 8 games into the season. You're 4-4, and your team is getting blasted online. You got Caitlin Clark getting blasted online. Kelsey Mitchell's been just as awful defensively. It's just nobody talks about it because no one cares what Kelsey Mitchell is truly doing. And you say that it's not that the players don't know what they're doing, it's that we haven't told them. She can't be this. It doesn't make sense. Whitlock is right. That answer from her doesn't make sense. She's not that dumb. This is a work. It has to be.
Well, let me explain the switching 1 through 5 to you. It's situational. Let me give you an example. If you're playing the Denver Nuggets, it's probably not going to be a good idea for you to switch 1 through 5. You don't want your point guard guarding Nikola Jokic. You don't want your point guard guarding somebody who can post up. If you're guarding San Antonio, if you're playing the San Antonio Spurs and your point guard's got any kind of size on him whatsoever, you can switch 1 through 5 because they don't have anybody posting up. I mean, their 5-man would rather be on the perimeter and try to drive to the basket. But you can't. You can't, if you're the Indiana Fever, you can't switch 1 through 5 and have Caitlin Clark switching on somebody who can abuse her in the post. And so that's got to be situational. I thought what they did last night, and I'm shocked that the Atlanta Dream kept doing it. You can't, when the ball went to the corner, Indiana trapped it. They trapped it, and they rotated over and took the first 2 passes away and made them find somebody on the other side of the court, and they never did it. They never was able to throw it out of the trap, but they kept throwing it into the corner, and I kept thinking, well, y'all better play down the middle. You're not going to be able to do that. So I'm disappointed this morning. I wanted you to be disappointed this morning. I wanted Indiana to get beat because, what you're doing right now is mild compared to what you would have been doing had they gotten beat by 15 points. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little upset. I wanted to see that. I'm upset because the Atlanta Dream really disappointed me yesterday. And I've watched them play. They're a better team than that. But they 2 stars looked like they was just in mud the whole game. Ryan Howard, I mean, I remember Reggie Miller once said that he went 4 for 10 from the field or something like that. And he told Larry Bird, who was coaching at the time, I just haven't had a bad shooting night. And Larry Bird told him, you didn't have a bad shooting night. You wasn't trying. 4 for 20 is a bad shooting night. 4 for 10 is not trying. That's how I feel about Ryan Howard yesterday. She's 2 for 9. I mean, you can't get more than 9 shots off against the Indiana Fever. Are you kidding me? I mean, she's 2 for 9 on a day that Lisa Gray can't hit, and it's just it was a bad game to watch. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It was a bad game to watch.
Charles, I'm going to explain that. In my opinion, is because Indiana switched up its defense, the Atlanta Dream were unprepared, and so they just didn't know what to do. They weren't expecting to get trapped and forced into the corner. They were expecting them to switch 1 through 5. Again, this is. I don't know. It's women for one, but it's also the schedule doesn't allow you to prepare for each individual game. I just thought Atlanta was caught off guard. I was shocked about the lack of emotion from Angel Reese and the entire team. But when you walk into an arena that has no energy, I think your energy goes down. And again, that's where I go to. They killed Caitlin Clark. And Charles, what you have not responded to that I'm going to push you on is like, what do you think of my theory that like this is intentional and this was planned after her rookie season? And I'm going to go a step further. It explains Caitlin Clark's mysterious, injury-riddled second season. I believe that was part of the work that like, you're not going to play much this second season. I honestly think this whole thing, getting her out of Indiana, she had to have a disappointing second season, and she has to have this muddy, disappointing third season. Now you have the justification for Lynn Dunn to go out, to have Dan Dockage go out, to have Corey Close come out of the closet like, hey, you know, I used to coach Caitlin Clark for 2 years, and here's how the organization should work around her, blah, blah, blah. This is all part of a plan. You don't have this much money on the line and leave things to chance. You just don't. And so the WNBA is actually being smart here. And I'm disappointed because I'm an Indianapolis person. But this is the smart thing to do. Get Caitlin Clark out of the mom and pop organization, get her to Los Angeles, and someone just pointed out Juju Watkins will be in this year's draft. I wouldn't even be shocked if they figured it out some kind of way to, hey, you're going to do this, Indiana, but we're going to somehow figure out how to get you the draft capital or whatever so you can draft Juju Watkins. Because, again, people will be saying, well, I'd have Juju Watkins be the star in Los Angeles. She's from there. She plays at USC. She's not the draw that Caitlin Clark is.
People don't go to Juju Watkins at USC already.
Yeah.
I mean, it's empty in there. I mean, I'm sorry. She's just not. Juju Watkins is a great player. She's not an exciting player. And that's why we have emphasized they've killed off the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. You know, the energy is gone. It's almost like Angel Reese wants nothing to do with it. Angel Reese don't even want to breathe too hard next to Caitlin Clark. She just doesn't want anything to do with it. All of the fake racial investigations and so many things. I feel like the WNBA has tried to get away from it intentionally. Angel Reese has tried to just distance herself from it. So that's done. But as far as Juju Watkins, people aren't buying tickets to watch her at USC. I mean, she just does not play an exciting brand of basketball. It's very similar to a DeMar DeRozan type of style. A lot of elbow jump shots, a lot of free throws. Great player, not must-see TV. Go ahead, Charles.
Well, it's I don't know if it started Caitlin Clark's first year, but when you throw the Los Angeles aspect in, I can see it happening, and I can see the league doing that. Because Los Angeles is a much bigger market than Indiana. It makes sense now. And I'll say this: I'm glad you brought this up because I don't like the questions injuries from players. I don't like the question, but with that said, when pro athletes gets injured, and I didn't see it happen on television, I'm kind of skeptical of them. I thought the whole deal with Caitlin Clark last year and her injury, it was like, well, wasn't she supposed to be back by now? Is there another injury? I mean, what's going on here?
Charles, let me give you the real smoking gun. And I said this last year. I just didn't say it loud enough. Caitlin Clark, the biggest star in sports, in my opinion, but certainly the biggest star in the WNBA. Do you think if Michael Jordan got injured his second, third, fourth season at the height of his popularity, we would never see a Michael Jordan press conference where he's talking, updating us on his injury, when he might be back? They kept Caitlin Clark completely away from the media all of last year. She never had to hold a press conference and say, hey, here's where I am with my injury. Here's blah, blah, blah. Nothing. We got nothing from Caitlin Clark. It makes no sense.
Indiana. You're in Indiana, and I'm here in Arkansas, so maybe you got it from the general manager or the coaching staff or the medical staff, but I didn't get anything over her. You turn on the TV, oh, she's not playing again. I'm like, you know what? When did she get? She's over there on the sideline. She looks okay. She's moving. What's going on?
No interviews.
The only thing we got was they let it be known that Caitlin Clark was done the last game of the season. They put out some written up letter in black and white and put it on their X handle. That's all we got. We never got any transparency. And then the guy that just got fired, the reporter Scott Agnes, who they're trying to end his business, he's the one that came out and said, oh, there was another ankle injury on top of the groin that they never even mentioned. And I feel like he knew where the bodies lied in there. He knew too much information.
Maurice.
They said, we got to get this guy away from here.
Maurice, Caitlin traveled with the team all last season. We would see videos of her signing autographs before games and all. So the fans got access to her, but the media didn't. We didn't get to ask her any questions last year about, hey, what's going on with this injury? This makes no sense. This has been a work.
I would see her on the bench and I'm thinking, okay, if she's that injured that is keeping her out, why is she not back at the Indiana facilities with the doctors and getting treatment? What is this?
They paraded her around like a mascot because they knew thousands of people would continue to buy tickets in hopes of getting things signed from Caitlin Clark. She was out there signing thousands of autographs hours before the games, and they paraded her around and labeled her as day-to-day with people continuing to buy tickets in hopes that, I bought these tickets 2 weeks ago. Maybe she's day-to-day now. In 2 weeks, she should be playing by then. It was a complete clown show, and they just completely botched the whole thing.
Let me ask
Charles, I've run out of time. I'm sorry. I've run out of time. I got to sneak in some NBA talk with Skap and Dre. I apologize. Last point I want to make. I almost slipped up. Erica Wheeler just happens to be in Los Angeles, and that's a ride or die for Caitlin Clark. This thing is set up for Caitlin Clark to end up in Los Angeles with Kate Martin, with Cameron Brink, with Erica Wheeler. It's set up. This has been the plot for 2 years. Ever since Caitlin Clark came on the scene, it's like, oh, wow, she is going to drive ratings. She is the big star that some people thought she was. And they started figuring out, how do we get her to Los Angeles? We've been in a 2-year psyop. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you guys next week. Those guys, not you guys. You guys stick around. When I come back, Dre and Skap are going to join me. We'll talk about Jalen Brunson and Victor Wembanyama and Game 2. Next. Sophie Cunningham, hottest woman in basketball. Love her to death, but she needs to shut up. And if they had real leadership, she would shut up. She's doing too much talking. They have a private team meeting to air out their differences. They've agreed, allegedly, to keep it amongst themselves. Sophie Cunningham, building her brand, continuing to build her brand, comes out and tells the media all about it.
A long meeting yesterday. It was a really good meeting, and so hopefully we've kind of turned the page and everyone is kind of on the same page now.
This is not a well-run machine. There is no leadership here. There is just chaos. MICKEYMOUSE, the Indiana Fever.
It's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Come inside, it's fun inside. It's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Roll call! Donald! Daisy!
Here!
Goofy!
Here!
Pluto!
Whoa, whoa!
Minnie!
Here!
Mickey!
Right here!
That's amazing. Thank you, Justin, for that. Skap and Dre, I got to get you guys in here before I move on to Coach JB. We got to talk about Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Skap, I know we brutalized you. Was it yesterday? Yeah, or all week, basically. And I'm sure you're now ready to join Team Jalen Brunson tonight. Are you expecting the sweep to continue? Do you think the Knicks steal another game in San Antonio tonight?
Well, no, I don't think that will happen. I mean, look, Jason, I was thinking about this the other day. Actually, Dre, shout out to him, brought it up. The Pistons are the team from the 04 that most really closely parallels this Knicks run, in my estimation, just because you don't see teams of destiny really in the NBA. You see it all the time in the NFL, in Major League Baseball, in hockey, like teams that just get hot at the right time in those sports that can kind of captivate the whole playoff cycle and go through this magical run where they're not the best team, but they just get hot at the right time. In the NBA, it's very hard to overcome the best team or the best player or the best player with the best team in a best of 7 game series. You almost never see it in the NBA. But I saw, and while we have been butting heads on the Brunson take this week, you asked me like 2 weeks ago about the Knicks, and I said they absolutely can win this whole thing because I've never seen a team quite on this kind of a magical run in the NBA. So while I'm not expecting the Knicks to win tonight, I think the Spurs win, and honestly, I think they win fairly resoundingly because it's a must win. They were up 14 in game 1. I think they've got to come out and seize control here, make a statement, and go to New York 1-1. But hell, look, as magical as the Knicks have been, nothing is off the table. So while no, I don't think the Knicks win tonight, if they do, I wouldn't be shocked because, again, they are on this magic run right now.
Look, I'm not asking this with any sort of friction or contention, but why do you frame it as magical at this point? Why couldn't it be like, hey, man, they just figured it out and, that's who they are. They're the best team in basketball right now. Why does it have to be magical?
Jason, of all the teams, look, we're in an unprecedented footing in NBA history right now. I think we're going on the 8th different champion in a row right now, which is unbelievable because really the NBA has been powered by dynasties from the very beginning. Like you started in the 50s with the Minneapolis Lakers and segued right into the Bill Russell Boston Celtics dynasty in the 60s and into the 70s. And from there, look, obviously the Celtics, Lakers in the 80s, the Bulls in the 90s, Kobe and Duncan in the 2000s. And then even, look, you had the Warriors for a chunk of time there in the 2010s. But now we have this absolute era of parity, which has begun in the NBA, which is just wild to see because it really has never existed. But of all the teams and all the profiles that I've seen over the last 7 years, the Knicks are by far the most glaringly of like a one and done run in my estimation. Like, look at the teams, Jason, that ultimately now in hindsight will never be back.
Answering a different question, Scap. I didn't ask you about are they going to win
Jason,
multiple
the Knicks aren't the best
championships?
team in basketball.
Huh?
I'm trying to answer. The Knicks aren't the best team in basketball. They will not be back next year. And I just think for them to blaze through the NBA playoffs at this level, Jason, they have a 20-point per game net differential.
Yeah.
That's going to shatter the all-time record. Where was that in the regular season? They won 54 games. They were like the 10th best net rated team. Everything about their profile from the regular season indicates they were the 3rd best team in the East. And now they have the greatest run in NBA playoff history. That's why it's magical.
Okay, but Scap, what I'm saying, and Dre, you chime in here as a former athlete, and I'm not playing the, hey, Scap didn't play card. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm just like, Scap, when I started out as a sports writer in 1990, graduating from Ball State, I was horrendous. I had good intentions, good work ethic, but I played football, smoked pot, and drank beer in college. And 1 year, I worked for the school newspaper, and it didn't allow me to catch up. And so when I got out of college, I had to take a $5 an hour part-time sports writing job because I wasn't qualified for full-time work. And I was not very good, but I had a great work ethic. And Bob Hamill and people like that at the Bloomington Herald Time, they recognized that. And then I worked that job for 10 months. And then I went to the Charlotte Observer, worked in some bureau there in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and I had this editor named Bill O'Connor. And he just started hammering me every day. And in 6 months, I went from being not very good to like really good to where I was writing front page stories for the Charlotte Observer, not this little bureau. So sometimes the light bulb goes off and people progress and everything and that's what, isn't there a possibility, Dre, that the Knicks had a rough regular season, or not rough, but just not the great regular season, and then it got to a point where the lights went off and everything just took off, and this isn't magic, this is just who they are this season, that it's not magic, it's like right now they're the best team in basketball.
Well, first, Jason, I'll say, what was the name of that guy in South Carolina, your editor?
Bill O'Connor.
Bill O'Connor. So when you say he was hammering me every day, that's actually a pause, and you didn't catch it. So you had to once you get more conditioned, you'll catch it. So you're not conditioned to catch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And you also said we pulverized Scap the other day. That's also a pause. All right. Anyway, as far you listen to Dame Dash, you'll catch up.
Yeah.
Anyway, answering your question. You're both right in a way, because what Scap is saying, or he didn't say in so many words, he was getting to it, was that in the NBA, usually that shows in the 82 game regular season. That's the reason why it's 82 games. So by the time you get to the playoffs, you can pretty much see who are the real contenders who can win. The Knicks were a contender with a lowercase c. They're going to win a round, maybe two, make some noise, but they were not looked at as they can seriously win the championship and beat Boston, who was looked at as one of the best teams in the East, Detroit as well, and then you had San Antonio and Oklahoma City. It didn't look like the Knicks were in that group. But now here they are, one game up in the finals. They win the second game. They're halfway to winning the championship in the series, which was not expected, which is, I don't know what the betting odds was. I don't know if either of you follow that kind of stuff, but they were not very high on the betting odds because they didn't look like a championship team. They were a good team, but not a title team. As far as what you're saying, Jason, you're right in that, yes, they have found their groove. They had some help in the Eastern Conference. They went against the Atlanta Hawks, who didn't really have much after those first two games. They shot whatever gas they had in the tank was gone after they were up 2-1. Hawks didn't really have much left. The Sixers used everything they had to win the first round against Boston, which took care of the biggest rival the Knicks had. The Pistons weren't quite ready, which is why they lost to Cleveland. And Cleveland, well, we saw what happened to them. You got a team with James Harden as one of your leaders. You know what's going to happen in the playoffs. So the Knicks did have somewhat of a quote-unquote easy run here, but again, I'm not trying to take away from them. This is the NBA. You have to beat whoever is in front of you, and they've done that. And they're doing it at a historical pace with that point differential that Scat brought up. And so as far as the answer to your question, yes, it is somewhat magical, but the whole point of professional sports is magic doesn't happen in professional sports. The best teams usually win. The best players usually win for a reason. That's the reason why we have these long seasons and it becomes a marathon, not a sprint. Anybody can win in a sprint. That's why the NCAA tournament is what it is, one and done. But in the NBA, usually you can't keep magic going for an entire postseason. That magic's going to run out like Cinderella, and that beautiful ball gown turns back to rags.
So the reason why I don't think this is magic, you've helped me understand this, Dre, or a counterpoint. You guys are both, 82 season marathon, and over the course of that 82 game schedule, you generally speaking have a good idea of who the guys are that can win the championship. Well, now, Scap, Dre, we're in the 65 game schedule because of load management and load effort management, that the 82 game season doesn't tell you what it used to, because the best players play about 65 games. And so it may become I wouldn't say the norm, but it may become different, because you're not going through an 82 game schedule. In reality, the effort is so uneven that teams may not fully put it together until just right before the playoffs. And maybe that's what's happened here with the New York Knicks. Or hell, they got into the playoffs and didn't have it figured out. They lost 2 games to Atlanta. But when the light bulb goes off, because this is what you were so adamant before this series started or late in the Eastern Conference Finals, man, I think the Knicks could win this. And maybe they just the light bulb went off.
Because I've never seen this kind of a run. I've just never seen it. Because look, you say that maybe, just maybe, teams aren't what we think they are coming in. Maybe we don't know till they work through the marathon portion of the season and then hit the sprint finish line. But look, last year, Jason, the Thunder won 68 games. They broke the all-time NBA record in net differential. They broke the all-time record in SRS in the regular season, and they went on and won the NBA championship. The year before that, the Celtics won 64 games. They finished 6th all-time in NBA history in net differential. They were a top 10 SRS team all-time in NBA history. They went on and won the NBA championship. I just don't. I'm sorry. The profile of this team fits the 2001 LA Lakers with Shaq and Kobe that went 15-1 in the NBA playoffs and had a differential of 12.5 points. And then it fit the other team it most closely resembles is the 2017 Golden State Warriors, the 73-win team that added Kevin Durant. They went 16-1 in the NBA playoffs and had a net differential of 13.5 points. This Knicks team now is 13-2 with a 19 point per game net differential. Like, I'm sorry, this team isn't on that level. This team isn't a historical all-time great NBA basketball team, and that is exactly what their profile is in these NBA playoffs. Therefore, that is why I'm saying it's magical, because they are playing, in my opinion, so far and away above themselves. Look, they have these same players, Jason, for mostly the last 3 or 4 years, other than, yes, Cat was a substitution. They traded Julius Randle last year. So this is only Cat's second year with this team. Other than that, these players have been together for a while. And then Cat was with them last year. They were nice. They went to you should know, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals where they lost to your Pacers in 6. Like, now they go from that to all of a sudden they're 3 wins away from beating the San Antonio Spurs, who, by the way, Jason, did show this in the regular season. Like, the Spurs were the second-rated team all year long. They had 62 wins. They had the best record by a lot in the second half, or the best net rating, I should say, by a lot in the second half. They finished the year 30-4 in the regular season. So, like, the Spurs had been building to this. That's why everyone's like, maybe they could beat the Thunder, maybe, because of how good they showed in the regular season. The Knicks haven't done that. All regular season, they were good, not great. Now, they are historic.
I take the Pacer deal from last year. I think anytime Rick Carlisle is involved, there's a strategic coaching advantage that leans towards Rick Carlisle. I truly believe he's the best coach in basketball. And so that's, Rick Carlisle versus, the Knicks, that's an aberration. I think, like, Mike Brown, to me, he's been given several bites at the apple, and right now he looks like it's worked out and he's turned into an elite coach, where I think he's clearly out-coaching Mitch Johnson. And I think that sometimes again, they're only one game in, but I think sometimes when you get into the playoffs and they're playing every other day, matchups really matter. You get to scout people more and more. That I think Mitch Johnson's a good coach, but I think he's still young. I think he leans into Greg Popovich and that entire organization. And Mike Brown and what the Knicks have been doing with Rick Brunson and obviously Jalen Brunson and the whole team, I reject, like, this is a fluke. May not show up next year, who knows, but I truly believe the Knicks have, and you've actually talked me into it, because, again, you're not surprised that they're having this success. You saw it coming. Dre, I'm going to give you the final word, then I got to move on to Coach JB.
Well, you both are making your right points, but for different reasons. So, Scap, you're talking about it analytically, and Jason, you're talking more of the spirit of the deal. And what you said there about, Jason, it's not an 82-game season anymore. So that actually strengthens the point that you, Scap, are making, because, Scap, you understand the history of the game. The history of the game, it was an 82-game season. Every team played 82. The players expected to play 82. Now the players are playing about 65 so they can get the award threshold if they care. Other than that, they're just playing enough to win enough games, let's get our playoff seeding, and then we're going to turn it on in the postseason. So the team we're seeing now with the Knicks, they may not have needed to be this team in the regular season. Well, not they didn't. They may not have. They didn't need to. And this is what happens. And this is exactly what happened when Kawhi Leonard in Toronto in 2019, when they won that championship, he barely played. And people were saying, well, he barely played, but he didn't play a lot of games. He was sitting out completely healthy. And people were saying he's the best player in the league. I said, no, he's not. He didn't play 82 games. How was he the best player? But people were saying that, and that started this. Now you don't play 82 games. You play as many as you need to just to be ready. Then you get to the playoffs, and then you start playing. The Sixers tried that with Joel Embiid. Unfortunately, he ran out of gas anyway. But this is what it looks like the NBA is becoming, as long as they keep that 82-game season so everybody can keep their paychecks.
I do want a final thought from you all. I want your take, if you have one, on my Caitlin Clark to the Los Angeles Sparks take. Either one of you, did any of you catch that? Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, I heard it. Where'd you get that from?
Huh?
How'd you know what team she's going to be traded to?
Dre, have you not followed my career? This is what I do.
This is Stephen A. Smith reporting LeBron's going to Miami?
No.
Day before the decision?
Dre, do you remember there was a young gentleman on a show called Speak for Yourself when everybody was sitting there going, man, what's going on with Kawhi Leonard? And is he going to the Clippers? Blah, blah, blah. And there was one guy that said on TV, like, no, he's waiting for the Clippers to land a partner for him. And if they can land a partner, he's going to the Clippers. I said that there were people, it's over. The Clippers are out. Kawhi's not going. And I was saying, no. He'll go to the Clippers if they can land a partner. This is what I do, Dre. I
you're looking at crystal ball.
I see patterns. No, it's not a crystal. I see patterns of behavior that are indicators. But anyway, what do you guys think of?
I heard it, so I wasn't sure if you were saying it like you have sources or you're just saying it like this is what I see happening. Okay, I
connect dots.
Okay, it would be very interesting if that happens. I think it would reinvigorate interest in Clark. It would reinvigorate her, and it would reinvigorate whatever team that is she goes to, and at least give everybody who's a WNBA watcher or casual watchers a reason to pay attention for at least an entire season, see what she does in LA, because LA is a big market.
Scap.
Jason, while you are, one of the best in the business, and that was a great call by you with Kawhi and waiting for Paul George, I wonder how much of this is your prognostication versus your desire and your wishes. Is your desire for Caitlin Clark to get traded to LA?
No.
Is that
no,
I know they're in your hometown or your favorite Indiana area, but she's in a terrible. Let me just equate it to my guy Nikola Jokic. While I want people to stay,
surprise,
right? Why you put everything to Caitlin, I put everything to Jokic. While you might want Caitlin to be in Indiana, like I want Jokic and all NBA players to stay in one place and not jump all over the league. If an organization so drastically diminishes a player's ability to succeed, you want them gone, right? Yeah. So I want Jokic to go anywhere to get out from under the thumb of his heinous organization. So I feel like you just want Caitlin to be paroled out of her heinous organization that is blowing and squandering her abilities to win and succeed. So anywhere probably you would be rooting for. I think I'm with you, Andre, though. It would be exciting to see another marquee basketball player hit the big market and the bright lights of LA.
Thank you, guys. I want to put a microphone in Scap's house to listen to him and his wife talk about where they're going to dinner. Because I'm sure Scap, Nikola Jokic prefers Ruth Chris over. So anyway, thank you guys. Give me a second, Coach JB. I got to go to the bathroom. I've been drinking too much coffee. We'll be right back with JB's Friday Crash Out. Next. This little cabal of 6. Lynn Dunn was the head coach of the team. Kelly Krauskopf was the team president. Brianne January and Karima Christmas were players on the roster, and Stephanie White was an assistant coach. This little cabal has been together for years and years and years. They have no interest in helping Caitlin Clark become the greatest player in WNBA history. Is Caitlin Clark perfect? No one is. But she deserves damn better than what she's getting from the Indiana Fever as they try to transition Caitlin Clark socially and, if necessary, completely out of the league. Caitlin Clark has mental issues, and you would too if you had to deal with the Caitlin Clark 6. If they were trying to transition you socially and trying to diminish you as a basketball player and leaving you out on an island to embarrass you. That's what's going on with the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark is not perfect, but she does not deserve what the Caitlin Clark 6 are doing to her. Cunningham, hottest woman in basketball. Love her to death, but she needs to shut up. And if they had real leadership, she would shut up. She's doing too much talking. They have a private team meeting to air out their differences. They've agreed, allegedly, to keep it amongst themselves. Sophie Cunningham, building her brand, continuing to build her brand, comes out and tells the media all about it.
A long meeting yesterday. It was a really good meeting, and so hopefully we've kind of turned the page and everyone is kind of on the same page now.
This is not a well-run machine. There is no leadership here. There is just chaos. MICKEYMOUSC, the Indiana Fever.
It's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Come inside, it's fun inside. It's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Roll call! Donald! Daisy!
Here!
Goofy!
Here!
Pluto! Minnie!
Here!
Mickey!
Right here!
What do I know?
I'm going to keep it 100. Starting out, no jokes. I'm so excited for JB to be on the show today because the man absolutely called what was going to happen with Myles Garrett 3-4 weeks ago. JB called me and was like, Myles Garrett's going to be with the Los Angeles Rams. Keep that quiet. I'm just telling you. So he could say, I told you so. But I got to say, JB, it's one of the great calls. I want people to know. I know you weren't pushing that out, and people know I'm not a BSer, but JB saw this Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams thing, or had sources that told him that Myles Garrett was going to end up with the Rams. He has. JB, good job. Great job.
Yeah. I just tell you something big was in the works, and there was more to the Ty Simpson thing because you bashed it, and I said let the macro take its toll. So obviously, I said something big's happening, and I think something big's happening right now again with another organization in the NFC trying to keep up, named the Eagles. So stay tuned for that one.
Maxx Crosby. You think Maxx Crosby ends up with the Eagles? I
do.
Wow.
I do.
Wow.
I do. And I think George Pickens is involved as well. Yeah. But what do I know?
How do you think the Rams, if healthy, guaranteed, how much money should we put on the Rams winning the Super Bowl?
Health is always the thing. Obviously, on paper, they're the far favorite. Health is huge, Jason. I don't know. Like, they have to run the football still. I like Kyron Williams. I think he's really, really good, special back for that system. Sean loves to have 3, 4, 5 tight ends on the roster. See, the macro take on this whole Ty Simpson thing is I was trying to tell everybody, like, pump your brakes, because 13 to take him was inevitable for the simple fact they knew they were not going to have these early picks next year or the year after, because they had to get rid of them for inevitably what happened with Myles Garrett. So they know they're not going to be able to get a QB in the years to come. So what they did was they knew with that all in, chess, not checkers, or checkers, not chess. And they were like, let's do this. And now people still don't understand why they took Ty Simpson. Number one, it's about $6 million a year, $25 million total. Not a huge $50-60 million deal. And you get a quarterback in case after Jimmy G said, I'm going to retire. You get a quarterback, knock on wood, that can come in and play in the system. And obviously the character part counted with Ty Simpson, Snead, and McVay, knowing the father, the grandfather, the family, knowing the character of what they require to have in that building as a quarterback, a leader, etc. And is he the most talented? No. But guess what? He can operate the system that McVay runs. And he run a lot of under center stuff for the casual fan out here. You don't need to be 6'4". You don't have to be that big when you're under center, running a lot of boot naked waggle, move the pockets, get him on the edge. You don't need to be the size everyone's knocking him for. He's not Fernando Mendoza's height-wise. It doesn't matter in Sean McVay's system, though, which people still can't grasp. So having said all that, they got to stay healthy, number one. And Seattle's still going to be formidable. The Niners are still, we figure them out. We'll see. I'm not high on them like a lot of people, but they're always good and well coached. But I just think it's going to be Rams, Eagles again. And you add I think the Dallas will be better. But I still don't know if they're good enough on defense unless they get rid of or add somebody. And there's only a couple pieces left in the NFL, Jason. You have a couple veteran wideouts, which I think the Rams are still going to add a Keenan Allen or one of those. And then you get them for a vet minimum type of deal. And then you got Maxx Crosby floating around if possible, George Pickens if possible. And that's what I think the Eagles and Cowboys and the Raiders are going to have to figure out and fight over before the summer hits. But those are really the only big splashes that can happen.
Well, there's another big splash that you should have some insight into. Aaron Donald. That would be a big splash if he came back. Do you think that might happen?
It could. I've heard kind of 50-50 both ways. I know McAfee's out there talking about he texted him, and I know I got E-Dub on my show and stuff. He's talking about it a little bit, but it's not a foregone conclusion. I think the wife is against it. I think he is excited because Myles Garrett, they always wanted to play together. This could be the terrible twosome. The Rams already had the fearsome foursome back in our era. This could be unbelievable as well. But 35 years old, coming off 2 years not playing, I don't think is that significant. I think he's in shape. He can play. Does he play preseason? No. Will he play every game? Probably not. But I don't want him to do what I don't want him to do is what Darnell and I argued about is come in like Dan Orlovsky alluded to week 12 because they're winning. Does he not come back week 12 if they're 500? See, that's the thing. If you're all in, you're all in. If you're not, you're not. And listen, Eric Weddle came back and won a Super Bowl with the Rams out of retirement. And I'm not a huge proponent of coming back in the middle of the season. I think that's a knock on the NFL's rules. I think you should either play the whole season or not. Like, I think that's pretty kind of, I know you have rights to certain guys, and if they don't sign the actual retirement paperwork like Tom Brady did when he went back to the Bucs, I know there's rule and loopholes in that, but I think there needs to be something to that, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if you agree, but coming back week 14, 15, 16 and on a team that's really good and loaded already, I don't know. Maybe it's I'm short-sighted on it, but I think you should play the season or at least be on the roster and practice and play. So if Aaron Donald gets on the roster, to me, Jason, I think at least if you don't play him every game, but at least he's there, he's on the team, he plays every other game. I don't know, but if you're going to take a roster spot for Aaron Donald, then take a roster spot. Don't use a guy and then cut him, put him back on the practice squad, and bring Aaron on week 14.
If you're going to play, you might as well play. What if you don't play on Sundays or whatever day of the week they play on? What's the fun? Now, on short weeks, maybe where, when you only got 4 or 5 days to prepare, maybe you give Aaron Donald those when you don't get a full week rest. Maybe you give him those weeks off. But if you're going to play, just go out there and play. And I think Aaron Donald would want to play because he could, Warren Sapp and I were communicating, and Warren was like, hey, man, when I was 34, 35, I put up 10 sacks for the Raiders. And Aaron Donald, coming off a 2-year break, why not throw another 12, 14 sacks on his resume? I think he'd want to do it. If he comes back, I think he wants to play at a high level and be a high-impact guy.
Jason, I don't think they realize the ramifications. So when you had Aaron Donald without Myles Garrett, you had to set the protection to Aaron Donald, meaning you had to automatically double him in the protection scheme. With Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald, you are screwed, to say the very, like, you cannot now so see what it does is for the casual fan is, if I got to dictate my protection towards Aaron Donald and I have to slide the protection one way or the other, and the defensive guys know this, now I can counter your slide with different things, right? I can fire zone blitz you, I can bring extra guys off one edge or the other. Can't do that now. So now if the Rams on defense know you're sliding to me and away from Myles Garrett or away from Aaron Donald, you can only do one or the other. You're going to half slide it, go ahead, but you're not good enough in the NFL to block both Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett one-on-one. So there's going to be a lot. The defensive coordinator in LA is going to salivate if he really were to get both of those guys. You can kind of equate it back to, Willie McGinnis and those
Richard
great
Seymour.
New England teams. Seymour and all those guys up front, big man Ted Washington, that was a offensive line nightmare. This is going to be something similar to that because they still have great young pieces too, on the edge. And now you locked it up with the secondary. Now you can go straight man and across the board and not worry about the defensive deficiencies they had last year, which ultimately lost them another Super Bowl. They were a Super Bowl team last year. If you sure up the defensive backfield and special teams, which McVay fired his coordinator for during the season because they were so bad, to be honest with you, that's what lost them probably the number 1 seed. When they lost to Seattle up there, when they were up big, when they lost to Philadelphia during the regular season up big, 28-7, I believe, and lost that game because of special teams, they're probably the 1 seed and host everything at SoFi and win the Super Bowl. So they're that close already. Now you add McDuffie and all these guys in the back row, which was already, now it put them as favorites. And now you add Myles Garrett. I mean, they're odds-on favorites, hands down, if they can stay healthy.
Has Darnell asked you to ask Les Snead or Sean McVay to check out Darnell's tape? Because maybe if they get Darnell to come out of retirement, he could grab the ankles of centers and guards and really open things up.
He's 5'8". Ball State, you guys know about that. Warren Central, you guys know about that. Very mid players come out of those places.
Hey, JB, I see that you have your nails painted in solidarity with Caleb Williams on the cover of Madden. Your thoughts?
Sean King, who's been eluding you and I haven't had him on until today finally. So he's finally come out. You know, he celebrates his 49th birthday, and apparently he's going through a midlife crisis. So when he comes back on your show next week, let him know that he made up a good point. I want to speak to the guy that does EA Sports and created this, because I need to know where you stand. Clearly, it's an agenda to be pushing this gay narrative on us down our throat, pushing this stuff on our kids and our babies and all this stuff. Jared McCain in the NBA, this cat in the NFL, and Boosie of all people came out and called him out, which I thought was good for like I told Smitty, I'm like, it's about time, man, that someone came out and called him out. That
let's play that clip. Let's play that clip.
What kind of message are they sending to these little boys? I never thought in a million years I would see this. As parents, how much do they have to do for us to say that's not right? Us daddies gotta go tell these boys that we got raising them to be men. That's wrong, son. That's for women. And not just daddies. These mothers, single mothers who raising boys to be men. You have to tell your son that's not right. Or in a couple months, he going to play in your fingernail polish. You know what I'm saying? Next is going to be lipstick on the covers, thongs. Is that enough? Man hiking a ball with a thong in his ass. Is that enough for you to tell your child that it's wrong?
I do want to remind Boosie that there were guys in my generation and before my generation that said, man, wearing them earrings, dudes wearing earrings, is that enough? And I'm someone that used to have my ear pierced. But anyway, go ahead.
Bring up Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman take is the one that's so they think that's comparable. It's not, because Dennis was a winner before and after. Caleb Williams hasn't proven anything yet. He hasn't even thrown for 4,000 yards yet in another added game season. Remember, he's getting more games and still didn't do it. And everybody was like, oh, he's the best thing since sliced bread. Now, if you don't do it and then you can't win, now this becomes even more prevalent when you don't get 4,000 yards in the all-time leading passer that they said you were a foregone conclusion to get. And you didn't win playoffs to go in advance and this and that. Now this becomes more about this and spread eagle on the cover and all this old stuff. The agenda that Sean King brought up is a real key piece, because I want to know why would you bring this up? Why would you put this out there? Why isn't Sam Darnold on the cover of the Super Bowl winning team? Or why isn't Nakua and Matthew Stafford the MVP? Or why isn't even Jalen Hurts and somebody like that? Like, I want to see something else. I don't get this take. I don't understand why this agenda is being shoved down our throats so hard.
Look, I agree. They could have had Caleb Williams on the cover without the painted nails, because he is an exciting player. He does lead these thrilling comebacks. He plays for the Chicago Bears, a historic franchise. I get all that, but the painted nails thing, it's like, what are we doing?
Did you get to see? I had a guy that was on a cover, a legend, on my show the other day. Good friend of mine, Dante Culpepper. Did you hear his take on my show about this? Mm-mm. So I asked him straight out. I said, Dante, is this the worst Madden cover of all time? Yes, hell yeah, it is. It's clear because I was on the cover, and what they do at EA Sports is they take 1 million shots of us, action shots, this and this. They give us a lot of intake and say, what do we like? So you're telling me those are the two that you chose to do. This one with your nails and a spread eagle one, and there's no real like Bailey, my producer, could have made a better one than that. We created one in 6 seconds on ChatGPT or whatever and put it on there, just messing with everybody. EA Sports cover, me and Smitty and my dogs, and it was better than that. There's no city backdrop. There's no Chicago backdrop. There's no like real like thought into that. That's even the further proving my point of the agenda wanted to be out there. It wanted to be glaring, because if you did this and Chicago's right here, and you got Ohio and Michigan Boulevard, and you got the city and the lake maybe or something, then it's a little different. But you have the city backdrop miles away. It looks like an all black background of the sky, and then so the nails stand out. Let's be honest. That is what the agenda was here. It was the worst cover that you can create. Now, this isn't even the cover. This isn't the real cover, right? This is the deluxe edition. The real cover is him spread eagle in the air with even a worse backdrop. This isn't the cover, by the way. Have your guys pull up the other one. The real cover is him spread out. His legs are spread. That's the one, Jason, that no one talks. That's the cover that you're going to buy in your store. This is the deluxe edition. Do we have that, Luke? Yeah. Right, this is the deluxe edition right here. So either one, both are a joke and a mockery. And Dante said, man, listen, you get a lot of options on taking shots of us, and you have us doing all this stuff, and it's a whole long process. And then they said, hey, what do you like? That's the cover, Jason. Like, why ain't the city behind them right there? Why is it so far back? Why? What is this?
What's the problem with this one, though? I don't see a problem here.
You don't?
I
got to stare at his genitals right in my face while he's spread eagle and there's no backdrop?
The backdrop is Chicago, and they're mimicking isn't that him in the air with the throw that he made? Nah,
I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, you see the real quick one, Jason, where him running to the side and he jump throws. But this right here is not. That's what we want to. That's what we want to buy. Here's the thing.
Hold for a second, or keep going. But Luke, Justin, get your microphones ready. I want to know what your thought is. Continue, JB.
Here's the macro side. Nobody ever in our history of John Madden football, since it was created in 1990 or whatever, when it just said 90 in Madden and it had John Madden's face on there, nobody stopped buying Madden, the video game, because of the cover. We've had Eddie George. We've had Taysom Hill, or we had the other kid, Cleveland Brown, the white kid, the fullback, that helped the kid drowning victim kid.
From
what's
Arkansas?
His name?
Didn't he play from Arkansas?
Yeah. What's his name? Damn it. Anyway, you've had all these guys on there. You had Dante Culpepper. You had all these guys. Just generic. Nobody stopped buying the game because of those, right? Here's the narrative they're pushing down our throat. They're pushing this down. And now you're going to actually have people not buy the game because of the cover. See how it's flipped now? The narrative is actually flipped now. So we didn't care who was on the cover before because it was just a regular football.
No one's not going to buy the game. The people, gamers are going to buy this.
Youngsters. But
yeah,
my chat, Jason, I'm curious to see your chat and everything on Twitter. Not buying the game this year. Not buying the game this year. It's all over the internet. You'll see it. Not buying this game no more. Banning Madden. Cancel Madden. You're seeing it now all over the place. Before, you never would have seen that. Didn't care about it. The thing was the percentage that was 98 percentile of the person on the cover being injured that season. That was the reason why a lot of people were like, don't put me on that stuff. So like Dante Culpepper got hurt himself. He broke down the story. He was hurt the next year after being on the cover. Eddie George, Michael Vick. Like, just think about all the people on the cover getting hurt. That was more of the big narrative than this. This right here now has become totally different. Now you're going to actually have, for the first time, people not buy it because of the cover, when the old cover was just a regular gray blah. Now you got this whole agenda. I hope they do, man. I'm tired of this agenda. It's exhausting.
Justin, first, this spread eagle throwing the deal. Am I missing something here, or is JB right?
That is indeed the throw that he did in the playoffs, I believe, when he came back or something like that. So that's what they were trying to accomplish with that. But I get JB's point. This is the goal for them to make Caleb Williams the face of the league.
That's true. That's a great point. You're making the guy with painted nails the face of your NFL league.
Luke.
So to JB, sorry, I was muted.
So anyway, go ahead.
You're rubbing off on me.
Yeah.
Pause. So the thing about the gradient, the city being small that JB's talking about, I don't really blame Caleb Williams for this. That's just a result of everything corporate becoming like minimalistic. They want everything to look clean, and like they just don't like loud graphics these days. So even what's the other one? Like this one right here. Like you see, they're just like snowflakes and nothing behind them. It's just minimalism. That's what I think. Taking artistic creativity out of the whole process.
All right, so Luke, find a way to clown JB with whatever IG clip we put out on this.
You know what? Make sure you give the context to the snowflakes, though. What are those for? Because they call him what? Iceman.
Yeah.
See, so you got to know all this little thing, the little details when you guys clip these. Because after I cook you, then you put it to your narrative. So what they did is they made this Iceman snowfall, which is the flakes are this big, Jason. And the nail, by the way, his nail color is bigger than the flakes, if you notice, and you look at it all. And first thing your eyes go to is this. Have you seen the TikTok videos that are viral right now of the little kids, the little boys? Now let me be clear. Painting the nails for Jared McCain?
No.
Oh,
I'm not on
viral.
TikTok.
It's the most viral thing. It's on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. It's everywhere. It's the mothers, white moms again, pushing these kids, their boys, to paint their nails and mention Jared McCain is the reason why. You're telling me that this isn't a thing when these young boys pull up Madden cover.
Look, they're trying to gay up everything. They are
That's
definitely
ridiculous.
trying to gay up everything, and you got single mothers, whether white or black, that are raising their sons to be more relatable to them as a single mother. This the absence of the father in the home. A father should be raising a boy in his image. We got too many single mamas out here, black and white, and just too many feminists out here that think, hey, my boy should be more like me. But yeah, so they're trying to emasculate and make gender fluidity. One day you're a boy, one day you're a girl, all of that. That is the agenda, and I definitely see it with the fingernails and that cover. But it looks like they're trying to do two things. It looks like, hey, we're going to do the gay thing, and then we'll give Whitlock and JB the football highlight of Caleb Williams throwing the touchdown or whatever. So we'll give you one masculine, one gay, and now we've covered our bases. They try to both sides every issue.
That's what do you call that? That's marketing, PR marketing 101. That's like when the gas prices go to $7 from $2, and then they come back to $4. We're all like, oh yes, it's back down. Not really. It's actually up. And we've been fooled again. And that's just what that is. That's nothing new. The issue I have is, Jason, that you got this thing happening in New York and LA, of course. The rigging of the elections is unbelievable here. I could tell you stories already. I'm a good friend with Sheriff Bianco, who was running for governor, who was trending literally and had fallen in the polls because it's so fraudulent here. It's ridiculous. Same with Spencer Pratt. Here's the issue I have. The whole thing is this. New York Mandami's over there, and literally inside of a meeting, an administrative meeting, they have two gay tumblers come in and introduce Mandami to the city council. And I don't know if you've seen this video. I've showed it on my show today. It is getting to be ridiculous. And Mandami really is trying to take father and mother out of the dictionary and use pronouns for the mother and the father. So, like, listen, I ain't going to sit up here and gay bash and all this, but I will say, don't force it on us either and expect us to take it, because I will fight back. And why do you having gay folks come in and push the agenda equal to getting rid of mother and father and using pronouns? See, the two don't make sense. Don't ask me not to be a gay basher and all this other stuff, and then yet you're trying to take away family traditional value stuff and use these pronouns. Jason, I had court last Friday for the first time in my life. I went in there. My lawyer gets up there, and I promise you, man, I didn't believe it myself. Their other attorney, their opposing attorney, got up there, a man, and I didn't even see him, in a skirt. And the judge, my attorney, addressed him as him. He said him, Jason. And the attorney, a liberal judge, female, of course, said, oh, no, he goes by she, her, address her that way. And my attorney refused, and they took recess. And I'm like, hell yeah, represent me the right way, because nah, we're not calling this thing her and she.
Last week when you were in court,
yes,
there's a male attorney dressed as a woman that's on the opposing side of it. Holy cow.
Yes.
That's
and you know who they're representing, right?
Netflix.
Crazy, isn't it?
They got a cross-dressing lawyer that, wow.
Oh, it's unbelievable. So we filed a motion to get a new whole setup. It's crazy, I'm telling you. Because that's already, they're already on their side already. Think about it. Like my lawyer said, no, we're not accepting it. Like it's ridiculous, Jason. I'm just telling you. By the way, though, this is the funny part about it. You'll use California's protection liberal laws, file here so you're protected, but then you move the entity, and Netflix moved out of California, by the way. But you're still going to use your home state as your home state status quo because you're protected by liberal laws. But they'll move out, just like Facebook, just like everybody in Frisco that's moved, Google, YouTube, everybody's left. But they're still using the protection of liberal laws here so that folks like us can't have a legitimate shot at beating you in some sort of suit. And I'm just telling you, it's so hypocritical, and I don't know how these liberal judges continue to allow it to happen.
Hey, I didn't get to ask Justin this, but I want to play one more thing for JB. I think Luke's already pulled it. Justin, are we playing any part of this Drewski's latest skit? We won't get copyrighted for that, will we? Can we play that?
We just showed ours a little bit because it got music, and that's why we had to shut it.
Yeah, the music will get copyrighted, but it'll be all right. We'll just remove it later.
All right, let's play the Drewski's latest skit. I think it's phenomenal.
I raise all these niggas. I raise all these niggas. I raise these niggas. I raise this nigga. I raise this nigga. The young nigga look up to me, man. 10 generations of the hood, man. Show love to your hood, man. Y'all nigga come back and feed the streets. Be a big homie to your hood, man. You nigga love me out here. I be that Pyro 1560 bloodhound. I'm finna start this streaming shit. Yeah, I'm finna start getting on live mode. Yeah. Bro, you just know how this shit be, bro. Like, I don't ask nobody for shit, dog. Like, I appreciate the unicorn. Y'all send a galaxy. Y'all send a galaxy in the chat.
Same apartment right here with little.
Same shit. That same spot.
Right here.
I was with their daddy. I was with their daddy around that time.
They don't even know what happened.
Nigga about this tall, man.
Let's talk about them allegations. How your lawyer
All
do
right,
the
that's
40?
enough.
No.
That's- That's enough. Drewski, he's undercover trying to save black culture by pointing out just how crazy and stupid it is.
Listen, I'm all for comedy. I don't think he's funny. I don't think the guy's funny, but I'm all for comedy. When he did the white face and all that, I go, this comedy, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't get my feelings hurt by words.
You don't think Drewski's funny?
I don't know. I think he's a nobody. He's another nobody. Just like Shane Gillis and all these other nobodies that have created. By the way, if you go do deep dive, Jason, Mr. Beast, all these people that have blown up without ever knowing them prior all have one common denominator. They all have what? A agency backing. They're all the same. Remember the little white girl? What's her name? The girl that blew up out of nowhere. Her first interview was Drake. Everybody's
Bobby
like, who's this
Althoff.
girl?
Bobby Althoff.
Yeah. Who's that? Guess what? Her and Drewski have in common. Oh, agency. It's funny how they handpick these people to be legit, because we never heard of them. It's not like they played sports or football. And they came into Haktua. Think about all these things like that. Did you see the story about that? It came out as that was a setup. They set that up to be her. Like that's not something organically just falls out of the air. The guy that's organic that has fallen all the way off because he didn't want to do the agency thing, if you go do a deep dive, is the Mexican dude from South Dakota or whatever, or Idaho, that did the cranberry juice. Remember that guy? And he played the Meatloaf
bring
song.
up Oliver Anthony.
Remember the Meatloaf famous song or whatever that he was playing, and he was on a skateboard and he had the cranberry. He was drinking the ocean. He was drinking the cranberry
Paradise
juice.
on the.
Yeah, he had like a head tattoo. No.
You know what I'm talking about? A couple years ago, he blew the hell up. And
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg and everybody endorsed him, and he got huge money from all these endorsements from Ocean Spray and from Meatloaf. And he's fallen all the way off because he's like, man, I ain't doing this agency thing. They tried to blow him up. I'm just telling you, these guys they're nobodies, Jason. They just blow up. They're not funny to me. I'm not a fan.
Justin, Luke, Drewski, funny, yes or no?
He's hit or miss on his skits to me.
Hit or miss from Luke. Justin?
No, I like him. I watch a lot of his stuff. So I disagree with JB on that. Drewski's a funny guy. I think he's exposing a lot of the stuff going on in black culture. So
Justin, mediocrity is a new excellence, brother. It's falling off bad, isn't it? Comedy's falling off bad if this is our saving grace.
You didn't think the church video where he's mocking the church,
No,
that wasn't funny?
I mean, I'm with the theme of it, but I just don't think the guy's funny. Like, there's a difference between, a guy up there making you actually laugh. If you make a guy that doesn't laugh a lot laugh, you're funny. And so I have a higher standard. I don't think it's funny. I don't think the guy's very hilarious. I don't think he's
Maybe
funny.
it's not directed at you. It's not your
I
style
get it,
of comedy.
You got to be funny, like different. To me, he's doing everything that someone else has already done. This isn't nothing new. I've been trying to tell Smitty this. We had this whole argument. What has this new generation created that's new? That's something like, oh man,
JB,
like
let
this
me
ain't
go
nothing but
biblical on you.
the prank video. What's the prank videos that came out?
There's
back in the
nothing
day?
new under the sun, JB.
Nothing. But
Well,
like,
again,
come on,
that's
man.
just reality. What me and you are doing, it ain't new. It's just, can we do it well?
Exactly. So my point is, he doesn't do it well to me.
Well,
I think he's
tell me, are you a Dave Chappelle fan? I want to trying to get a taste of who's the funniest comedian. If you Eddie Murphy, is it Richard Pryor? Who?
I'm Richard Eddie guy. I used to be so to me it's what's his name? Lavelle Edwards.
Who?
Big
The
Lavelle.
BYU football coach?
No, what's his name? Not Lavelle Edwards. Lavelle
Crawford.
Lavelle Crawford.
Lavelle Edwards. Lavelle Crawford, the big brother that lost a lot of weight. I think he's from St. Louis. He's hilarious to me. I think back in the day, of course, Red Fox, Richard, and
Yeah,
Eddie.
Red
But
Foxes.
to me, the best stand-up I've ever seen, and people may not agree to me, is Jamie Foxx, I Need Security.
I like Jamie Foxx comedy.
When he called out J-Lo, Living Color, when he called out LL Cool J, when he got into a fight with them on the set of Any Given Sunday, that stand-up was hilarious. Because he was doing things back then that nobody thought he would do, calling out everybody. From Prince to Michael Jackson to J-Lo. You got to go watch that. I Need Security, it's called. Go watch that stand-up by Jamie Foxx. That's the best stand-up I've seen in a long time. Chappelle became too real worldly and it was just not, it didn't have it for me anymore. After the Chappelle show was top tier. His stand-up to me isn't the greatest.
I can't believe that you haven't
I dislike Chris Rock altogether. What?
You dislike Chris Rock.
He's not funny at all to me.
Do you know Gary Owen at all?
The white dude?
Yes.
Yeah, not funny at all to me.
Oh, Jay, I got you read all wrong. Gary Owen and you, y'all cut from the same cloth. You know,
when Bernie died and when all those people died, that's when comedy died to me. When Martin went on a little whatever happened in Hollywood Boulevard, and that died. Comedy died when Bernie died. I mean, to me, man, I'm just telling you, we lost. What's the other brother that died too? His son played football in JUCO here. Robbins, when he died.
Robbins, who are we talking about?
Yeah, what's the name? Robbins.
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. No, Robin.
No, he's a brother. He's a brother. Tim, not Tim Robbins. Damn, you'll find it. Look it up. He died. He was funny. You know who it is, Jason. I probably said his name wrong again. You know who it is though. You watched him, guarantee you.
Robin Harris.
Robin Harris. Sorry.
Yeah.
Robin Harris. When he died, we lost a lot, man. Those guys were true comedians to me. These guys now are all doing what everyone else did. They're just following social media trends. That ain't funny to me. That's rewashing someone else's dirty draws.
JB, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Great job.
Big news coming. Big news coming. Big trades are gonna happen.
That's the real Coach JB. That's our Friday Crash Out. In 2 minutes, I'll be on the Harmony Channel with Owen Schroer. We'll be talking about the Carmelo Anthony trial that's right now in day 2. Owen Schroer and I, you guys remember Owen Schroer from InfoWars and Alex Jones. He'll be on Harmony with me in 2 minutes. We'll see you over there. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week here on Fearless.